Many people imagine self doubt as a small inner hesitation that only slightly slows life down, but its real influence is far deeper and more silent than most realize. It shapes the way decisions are made, the way opportunities are seen, and the way a person evaluates their own ability in everyday situations, especially when learning skills like English communication or public speaking. In reality, self doubt is not just a feeling, it becomes a filter through which all experiences are interpreted, turning neutral events into signs of weakness or failure and convincing a person that they are always one step behind others, even when progress is actually happening. At first, self doubt appears harmless. It sounds like careful thinking or responsible planning, but over time, it quietly builds invisible limits around a person's actions, stopping them from trying things they are actually capable of doing. This is especially visible in language learning, where students hesitate to speak because they fear making mistakes or sounding stopping the mistakes imperfect. They rehearse sentences in their mind, but never voice them aloud, and every time they hold back, they reinforce the idea that silence is safer than expression. This creates a cycle where the fear of error becomes stronger than the desire to improve, and the learner begins to confuse hesitation with intelligence, thinking that overthinking is the same as being careful or smart. But in reality, this mental pattern does not protect growth. It restricts it every time a person chooses not to speak in English because of fear. They lose a small but important chance to train their brain in real communication skills. Language is not learned only by studying rules, but by using them in imperfect situations where mistakes are normal, and expected self doubt interrupts this natural process by creating pressure for perfection before participation, and this expectation of perfection makes even simple actions feel heavy and complicated. What could have been a short sentence becomes a long internal debate, and what could have been a learning moment becomes a moment of avoidance. Another hidden effect of self doubt is how it changes the way a person remembers their own experiences. The mind tends to focus more on mistakes than on progress. So even when someone improves their English speaking ability or gains new vocabulary, they still feel like they are not good enough because self doubt highlights every small error and hides every success. This creates an unfair inner picture where improvement is invisible and flaws appear larger than they really are over time. This distorted perception weakens motivation because the person believes effort is not producing results even when real growth is happening quietly in the background. Self doubt also affects daily communication choices in subtle ways. A person may avoid asking questions in English conversations even when they are confused, or may stay silent during group discussions because they fear their words will not sound correct. This avoidance slowly reduces exposure to real language use, which is essential for improvement. And instead of gaining confidence through practice, the person remains stuck in observation mode, watching others speak but not participating fully. This creates a gap between knowledge and action, where the learner understands more than they are able to express. And this gap grows wider with time, making speaking feel increasingly difficult, even though actual ability may be improving internally. Another important impact of self doubt is emotional exhaustion. When a person constantly monitors their performance in every interaction, they become mentally tired, not from doing too much, but from overthinking too much simple tasks like replying to a message or speaking a sentence become mentally heavy because every action is filtered through fear of judgment. This constant internal pressure drains energy and reduces enjoyment of learning, making the process feel like a burden instead of a natural skill building experience slowly. The person begins to associate English with stress instead of opportunity, which further reinforces avoidance behavior and limits progress even more. Over time, this pattern can also affect self image as the learner starts believing that hesitation is a fixed trait rather than a temporary state. They may label themselves as shy or not talented in languages, which further strengthens the cycle of avoidance and self limitation. Breaking this cycle requires awareness and small, consistent actions that challenge fear without trying to eliminate it completely. The goal is not to become fearless instantly, but to act even when fear is present, because action is what slowly rewires confidence and reduces the influence of doubt in everyday decisions. Each small step taken despite uncertainty builds a stronger sense of self trust and gradually shifts attention from fear based thinking to growth oriented action forever. Many learners believe that improvement in English comes only from studying grammar rules or memorizing vocabulary lists. But in reality, communication skills grow mainly through active use and repeated exposure to real situations. Self doubt, however, interferes with this natural learning process by creating unnecessary hesitation before speaking or writing. It convinces the mind that understanding is not enough and that perfection must come first, which delays practice and weakens confidence over time. This delay becomes a habit where the learner waits for the perfect moment that never arrives, and as a result, opportunities for natural improvement are continuously postponed without realization. This pattern also affects motivation because when people do not see immediate results, they assume they are not improving even. Though language development is often gradual and not instantly visible, self doubt magnifies this misunderstanding by focusing attention only on what is missing rather than what has already improved. For example, a learner might know hundreds of words and understand conversations, but still feel inadequate because they remember moments of confusion more clearly than moments of success. This imbalance creates frustration and makes consistent practice feel less rewarding. Another important aspect is how self doubt influences decision making in real time situations when a learner is asked a question. In English, their mind may already know the answer, but self doubt interrupts the flow of response by introducing fear of mistakes. This delay can cause hesitation long enough for the opportunity to pass, and the person is left with regret instead of experience over time. Repeated experiences like this train the brain to associate speaking with pressure rather than expression, which makes future participation even harder. The irony is that the ability often exists, but access to it is blocked by internal hesitation rather than lack of knowledge. Self doubt also has a social impact because it limits how openly a person interacts with others in group discussions or casual conversations instead of sharing ideas freely. They may constantly evaluate how their words will be perceived. This self monitoring reduces spontaneity and makes communication feel artificial rather than natural. As a result, conversations become shorter and less expressive, which can affect relationships and reduce opportunities for meaningful connection, especially in environments where English is the primary medium of communication. The fear of judgment becomes a barrier between intention and expression. To overcome this pattern, it is important to understand that confidence is not a requirement before action, but a result of action itself. Many people wait to feel ready before speaking, but readiness often comes after repeated attempts, not before. Each small attempt builds familiarity and reduces fear gradually. Instead of trying to eliminate self doubt completely, it is more effective to act alongside it, acknowledging its presence without allowing it to control decisions. This shift in approach transforms learning from a passive experience into an active journey where mistakes are no longer seen as failures but as necessary steps in development. Over time, this creates a healthier relationship with learning and allows progress to become more visible and sustainable. When a person starts applying this mindset in daily English practice, they begin to notice small but meaningful changes. They speak a little more, even when unsure. They write messages without over editing every word, and they participate in conversations instead of observing from distance. These actions may seem minor, but they gradually accumulate into real confidence and fluency. The mind slowly learns that mistakes are not threats, but part of communication, and this understanding reduces the intensity of self doubt, further making future attempts easier and more natural. Ultimately, the journey of improving English or any skill is not about removing fear completely, but about not letting fear decide the outcome each time a person chooses action over hesitation. They strengthen their ability to grow and expand their potential beyond self imposed limits. This consistent practice creates a foundation for long term improvement where confidence becomes a byproduct of experience rather than a requirement for starting the process. And as this foundation grows, the influence of self doubt gradually weakens, allowing the individual to communicate more freely and engage more deeply with learning opportunities that were previously avoided over time. This transformation is not dramatic but steady and sustainable. It reflects a shift from fear based learning to growth based learning where mistakes are no longer feared but accepted as part of progress. The learner begins to trust their ability more and doubt their limitations less. And this balance creates a healthier mindset for communication in English and beyond. This mindset becomes the foundation for continuous personal and linguistic development in everyday life. It allows individuals to move forward with less fear and more confidence while still accepting imperfections as natural part of learning journey always. Self-doubt does not always announce itself loudly. It often appears in quiet thoughts that seem logical at first but gradually influence behavior in powerful ways. A person may start avoiding challenges not because they are incapable, but because they have already imagined failure before trying this mental simulation of failure feels real enough to stop action, and over time it becomes a default response in new situations, especially in learning environments where performance is constantly evaluated. This creates an internal pressure where every action feels like a test rather than an opportunity to learn. This mindset affects not only language learning, but also general confidence in communication because the person begins to associate speaking with evaluation instead of expression, they become more focused on avoiding mistakes than on sharing meaning, which reduces clarity and spontaneity in conversations. Self doubt narrows attention and makes individuals overly self conscious, causing them to miss natural flow of dialogue, even in familiar settings over time. This can create a habit of silence where speaking less feels safer than participating actively. Another major effect is the loss of learning momentum. When self doubt interrupts practice consistently, the learner never reaches the stage where communication feels automatic. Instead, each sentence requires heavy mental effort and constant checking. This slows down progress significantly, even if the person studies regularly. Because real improvement depends on usage, not just exposure. The gap between knowledge and expression continues to grow, creating frustration and self criticism, which further strengthens the cycle of doubt and hesitation. Self doubt also affects how people interpret feedback. Even constructive suggestions are sometimes perceived as proof of inability rather than guidance for improvement. This misinterpretation prevents growth because instead of learning from feedback, individuals may feel discouraged and withdraw from practice altogether. Healthy learning requires openness to correction, but self doubt often transforms correction into confirmation of weakness, which damages motivation and reduces willingness to continue practicing. A healthier approach involves recognizing that mistakes are part of learning and not evidence of failure. When learners accept this, they become more willing to take risks in communication, and gradually their confidence improves through repeated exposure to real situations. This process does not happen instantly, but develops slowly as the brain adjusts to new patterns of thinking and behavior. Each small success reinforces the idea that action leads to improvement. Another important change occurs when individuals stop comparing their progress with others. Comparison often increases self doubt Because it highlights differences instead of personal growth, every learner has a unique pace, and focusing too much on others can create unnecessary pressure and discouragement when attention shifts back to personal progress. Even small improvements become meaningful and motivating. This shift helps reduce anxiety and encourages consistent practice, which is essential for long term language development. Self trust plays a key role in overcoming self doubt because it allows individuals to rely on their own ability to take action even when uncertainty is present. Building self trust requires consistent practice of keeping small promises to oneself, such as speaking a few sentences daily or writing short notes in English. Each completed action strengthens confidence and reduces hesitation. Gradually, the learner begins to feel more comfortable expressing thoughts. Without overthinking every detail over time, this consistent practice changes how the brain responds to challenging situations instead of triggering fear automatically. These situations begin to feel manageable and familiar. This shift is important because it transforms self doubt from a controlling force into a background thought that does not interfere significantly with action. The learner becomes more active in communication and more willing to engage in conversations even when they are not fully confident. This willingness to act, despite imperfection, is the core of real improvement because it ensures continuous exposure to learning experiences rather than avoidance based stagnation. As learners persist, they gradually build stronger communication skills and a more stable sense of self belief, which reduces the impact of negative internal dialogue and supports long term success in English and other areas of personal development. The overall journey shows that self doubt is not something that disappears completely, but something that can be managed through awareness, action, and consistent practice. When individuals stop treating doubt as a final truth and instead see it as a passing thought, they gain the ability to move forward with more freedom and less fear. This change allows communication to become more natural and learning to become a continuous evolving process. T HAT supports lifelong growth and confidence. It is a gradual transformation that requires patience and repeated effort. But each step forward contributes to a stronger mindset and a more confident way of expressing ideas in real life situations. Over time, the learner develops the ability to handle uncertainty without being controlled by it and begins to see challenges as opportunities for improvement rather than threats. This perspective shift is what ultimately leads to sustainable progress and a more empowered approach to communication in English and beyond. Self doubt becomes manageable and no longer defines personal potential or direction through consistent, mindful action always.